This is the last blunt I will be smoking in 2020. You guys ever see Waking Life? I've spent a lot of my short time here on Earth watching and thinking about animation, and I've sometimes, thought, are there different types of animation? It's a medium, not a genre after all. Is there a hierarchy to them? Are there some methods of animation that are just inherently better than others? Like, is 3D better than 2D? Is there even an answer? Art is pretty subjective after all. I personally think that animation in all its forms are equally capable of producing great art. But I didn't always think that. I always thought that in terms of narrative and dramatic tension, that some types of animation just had less potential. I mean, imagine Game of Thrones if it was claymation, or The Lord of the Rings if it was puppet animation. I even once upon a time thought that a certain animation method shouldn't even be called animation. Rotoscoping is tedious and an art form to be sure. I still have great respect for people who make rotoscope productions, but whatever rotoscope animation I saw was always a cut below and like other works. After all, like in a sense, rotoscope animators are just tracing over video, right? In general, I just had a very low opinion of rotoscoping for a long time until I saw this movie. As I was watching this part in the very beginning where the kid is holding onto the car door handle and begins to float up, I wondered, okay, how was this animated? What here was real? You begin to wonder, okay, what element of what I'm seeing is real? It's not enough to just ask if it's real or not. Like, if in a rotoscope animation someone is walking, you know that the animation was rotoscoped from a video of someone walking. How about the space the walking and talking is taking place in? Each element by themselves can be inferred to as real, but their connections to each other are all up for speculation. The living room orchestra scene, for example, are the people playing the instruments actually in a living room? Are they all in the same space? Is the music originally from that space? The waving background and objects refusing to stay in place, rather they hover and they orbit in certain sections, giving rough approximations for where things are. Throughout the film we hear the philosophies of many people, as the main character mates his way through his dream. None of these ways of thinking or ideas are put above or below any others, they're all just varying methods of viewing and interpreting dreams. Much like there's a multitude of ways of animating the stories we tell each other, Rotoscope uses video or video animation as a foundation and a reference, choosing what to show, what to hide, enunciate, what to highlight. The man giving the lecture in the classroom, for example, first he's in the classroom, you can hear the echoes of his voice reflecting the space he's in, but then the same conversation he appears outside with the main character. Rotoscoping was the best choice of animation for the ideas that Waking Life is trying to portray. Our first reaction is to trust that the rotoscope movements we see are real, or at the very least, they were really captured from video. Waking Life touches on the fact that we can perceive reality, even interact with it, but we can never confirm it. One character talks about the future of biotech, being able to amplify oneself with machinery. He brings up the multiplication of the individual, the elimination of the current boundaries of time and space. This can be used as an analogy for dreaming itself, and for the nature of animation, being able to skip forward and back on the timeline with ease. This can be applied for video editing in general. However, in animation, it's not the multiplication of the individual, but a multiplication of the moment. In rotoscoping, we can have animation from references that are from two or more sources, spliced together with some original animation thrown in, and maybe the audio or the lighting is altered to give different impressions of the size and nature of the setting. We see the main character supposedly laying in bed, but is he actually on a bed? Is he actually laying down? How much of I'm seeing here is, pure animation, and how much is referenced from the precursing video? Then there are exaggerations in size and movement. Some characters levitate. The reality of the situation is always brought into question. Is the boat car actually a boat car? Is that duck actually there? You know? The part where the one man appears to set himself on fire is where I realized what the movie was going for. Up until that point, I had taken basically everything that the movie was saying at face value. The guy driving around with the megaphone was an interesting section. After about a minute of listening, I began to think that this guy, maybe this guy isn't actually driving around in a car. Maybe he's not actually talking into a megaphone. I make a guess that the rotoscoping of the car and the torso and the arms came from one video, and that the facial animation and the audio are from like a radio show or something. After all, what's more likely that they actually videotaped the guy driving around town screaming into a megaphone? I remember watching this part and thinking, wow, this is like a really good Alex Jones impression. Like, damn. And then I looked at when the movie was made. 2001. Like a full decade before Alex Jones was popular. And I realized, like, holy shit, this is the actual fucking Alex Jones. Anyway, that isn't to say that rotoscoping is only good with a small amount of, narrative subjects like dreams or whatever. But that the previous conceptions I had about rotoscoping were wrong. One of the unique traits of rotoscoping in comparison to other forms of animation is how it can play with perception. A line from a character states that literature is better for stories than film, and this includes animation, due to literature's ability to be more subjective. Whereas film makes a specific statement with its visuals, the reader engages with the written word by creating their own interpretation in their mind. Film does not allow this to the same extent. The subject is shown, even if styles change. All rotoscoped animation has fundamental similarities between themselves. When you see a rotoscope animation, most times you can recognize it as rotoscoping in its movements, its pauses. To me at least, this essential quality of rotoscoping matches the main point of the movie. When the main character is talking to the dream girl about how he knows he is just a part of the dream, and how he mentions he's been given all this information by all these people he's talked to, and talks about how this information is new to him, yet familiar. Dreams can have that quality too, where objects or people in your everyday life can appear estranged or alien to you, while completely new things can be familiar. So too does rotoscoping have this effect. You see rotoscoped animations and you see people move, talk, play instruments, dance, and we recognize those movements, we recognize the style. Okay, so this is the part where my research ruined my speculation a bit, because I found some of the original footage that Waking Life was rotoscoped from. Remember my theory on how the Alex Jones part was shot? Well, I was wrong on that. They actually got Alex Jones to drive around in a car yelling his opinions. But on second thought, that's probably not a hard thing to get him to do. So basically, I really enjoyed watching Waking Life. It wasn't like a masterpiece or, anything totally crazy, but it was just a nice, weird, enjoyable movie. If you like Midnight Gospel, you'll probably like this movie too. It's kind of like that podcast-esque narrative embedded into like a strange animated world. I thought the movie nailed what it was going for. Really, I made this video because I had a certain pre-existing belief about rotoscoping, and I just thought, I didn't really think that highly of it, and this movie changed my mind on it. Yeah, I really like rotoscoping, and I think it's cool, and I didn't always think that. That's why I made this video. One second. This is the first blunt. I'll be smoking in 2021. I've been wanting to make my own YouTube channel for 10 years. 10 fucking years. And I never did. Because I was always shy, you know? I was always shy about, like, putting my opinions up on the internet for, you know, everybody to pick apart and tell me how stupid I am and all that shit. But I'm making one now. Over the next 24 months, I'm going to be making 10 videos. And, you know, then in January of 2023, I'll reevaluate my fucking life choices. But yeah, I'm starting the channel now because, I mean, you know, if 2020 has taught me anything, it's that we're all gonna fucking die. Bye.
It was all a dream. I used to read Word Up magazine. Salt and pepper and heavy D up in the limousine. Hanging pictures on my wall. Every Saturday, rap attack Mr. Magic Marley Marl. I let my tape rock till my tape pop. Smoking weed and bamboo, sipping on private stock. Way back when I had the red and black lumberjack with the hat to match. Remember rapping Duke? The hard. You never thought that hip hop would take it this far. Now I'm in the limelight cause I'm